Folks are starting to pop in the room here. So, welcome in, everybody. We're so excited to have you here for the first ever edition of Trade of the Day Live. We're super excited to be here live with you folks this morning, and really appreciate you all joining in from home. And it should be a great session. It's going to be kind of similarly structured to the T.O.D newsletter if you've been following that for some time. Helaine and I are going to be sitting down just talking about, just kind of what's going on in the markets, what's moving markets. And then each of us have just a different trade opportunity out there that we spotted just this morning that look like great setups. We kind of walk you through the technicals of what we're seeing. And then, also we would love to have you guys watching at home engage while we're talking. We have the chat opened up. So if anybody has any questions, please go ahead and throw them in there. And we'll be glad to answer those questions as we're going along today. I'll definitely keep an eye over on my other screen here to see any questions coming in. So would love to chat with you folks sitting at home if you have any questions while we're going through. So Helaine, anything you want to say before we kick things off here?
Yeah, I was just gonna say welcome in everybody. We're super excited to be here with you live. Blaine and I are both members of the Hughes Optioneering team, have been working alongside Chuck now for years and years, and have learned so much from him. And we're excited to be able to share some more live behind the scenes information with all of you guys.
Yep, absolutely. Here it's just a great educational session. Just really for you guys' benefit. We're going to sit here and talk about what we're seeing, use our knowledge that we've learned, alongside of Chuck for all these years now, and talk about the technicals that we love to use, and in fact use every single day. For how we go out and approach the markets. And each day, there's always something kind of crazy going on, moving markets, maybe creating some uncertainty out there, and just kind of how we use our technical tools to help navigate that. So with that, I think Helaine would probably be a great time. Do you want me to go ahead and start off and share my screen and take things away?
Go for it, jump in.
All right, let me go ahead and do that real quick here. And just let me know, just make sure that everybody can see my screen here. I should be
Yeah,
able
we
to see
can
this
see it.
chart right here, but this is just a chart of the S&P 500 here, of course, Helaine. And, I was going to say, of course, you can see in today's trading action, if you've been following the markets, you can see we've gotten a pretty nice boost today. We've had a nice bullish thrust across the markets. That's largely related to some of the uncertainty seemingly, being removed from the geopolitical concerns that have really ramped up in the last couple of weeks. After markets closed yesterday, we seemingly got news that there's a ceasefire in place, hopefully ending the conflict that has currently been developing in the Middle East between Israel, Iran, and with the U.S. also recently throwing their hat in the ring over this past weekend as well. So, news of that ceasefire, seemingly that tensions are cooling. Hopefully, the ceasefire will last and stand up. But with all that said, that's been a major driver behind today's move. Of course, you can see there was a huge gap up. Yesterday we closed out, somewhere right around, call it 6,025, 6,030. You can see this morning we gapped up pretty nicely and opened actually above 6,050 this morning. So, of course, you probably seen that, but that's kind of, what's driving that move behind stocks today. And then, once the session got underway, it got a little bit further boost as well. Actually, Helaine, I don't know if you happen to catch any of this testimony, but Fed Chair Powell is actually testifying in front of the House Financial Services Committee this morning. And,
Okay.
of course, talking about many different things. Those hearings can kind of go off the rails sometimes, but um, he has expressed some sentiment. This is on the back of in the past couple days, several other Fed governors that are on FOMC making decisions. They were expressing that perhaps it's time to start considering changing their monetary policy rate, so thus adjusting the Fed funds rate and interest rates lower, those short-term interest rates, because they're seemingly now more open to the idea that possibly any of the inflationary effects from tariff policy could be more muted than initially feared. They're not saying that that is definitely what's going to happen, but that they're more open to the idea, and of course, going to remain data dependent as they always are. But
Of course.
they're more open to the idea that they could perhaps start cutting rates sooner than later. Which of course that's music to the market's ears, right?
Yeah.
Everybody that's investing in
Absolutely.
equity markets they everybody wants lower interest rates, right? That I mean that's great news. So
And this is also in line with what they've been saying. I mean, they've been forecasting 2 additional rate cuts for the rest of the year. It's already, well through, basically the end of June now. So
yeah, the year's getting short. We're running out
exactly.
of year.
So it's good to hear their messaging going along with what they're actually forecasting. And, as you said, this is music to the market's ears. This was like, great news to be hearing. And, just looking at that chart for the S&P, I mean, yesterday when we got news of that ceasefire, I went and looked at the S&P chart and I said, well, we've been pretty range bound here for at least the past month, month and a half. And this could be what we need in order to break higher, break out of that range, and potentially it could be the catalyst for seeing new highs, I think.
Absolutely, yeah, 100%. And as you said, for the past, roughly 2 to 3 weeks, we have been pretty significantly range bound, between roughly 6,050 and if you go back, about a month and a half, kind of the floor into that range has been the 200-day moving average. We broke above
Mhm.
it, quickly traded down and retested it, but ever since then we bounced higher and continued making, some series of higher highs and higher lows over the short term. But again, momentum kind of stalled out in the last couple of weeks. But
Yeah.
today's move, even with all those, we saw the events happen after the market closed yesterday and, during today's trading day with the testimony. But, even, the market started to sniff this out yesterday towards the end of the day. And I actually
Mhm.
I sent a message out on our Telegram channel about this because I saw this at the close yesterday. But we had a great, pretty reliable technical signal here on this bar right here. It's this one. I don't know if anybody happened to catch that message I sent out, but there was a great buy signal that was sent out. It was printed on these charts near the close, and it was that we had a very reliable technical pattern pop up on the chart. It was that we had this bar right here. This is a very clear bullish engulfing, candle or bar, meaning it's referring to, if you're unfamiliar, it's just having a trading range that's wider on the top and the bottom end than the previous day's range, and then having the close higher than that range. So having it be a positive day there. So that's a pretty reliable bullish reversal trading pattern for a candle or a bar like we see
Lane,
there.
can you do a quick little zoom in on that bar? Because it's really hard
Yeah,
to see.
absolutely. That's good call. Yeah, it's a little harder to see. Let me go ahead and zoom in here. Sorry about that, guys. So it's this
There
bar
we
right
go.
here, if you can see my mouse going around it. So you can see the top end of the range is obviously above the previous day's range and the lower end as well. So it's a pretty wide trading range. But you
Mhm.
can see by the end of the close, investors, buyers out there in the market, there was enough buying pressure to push it up near the top end of that range, and of course closing above the complete trading days range from the day before. So this is that bullish engulfing candle right here. And again, that's a very reliable reversal indicator. It's a pattern technical traders look for, and it generally signals an upcoming thrust higher in stocks. And that's exactly what we got today. So that was definitely a very solid buy signal that was printed yesterday. So hope you all saw those messages that I sent out last night. But it's definitely seeming to play out, and we're getting that too. Looking a little deeper into the market internals as well. I looked just before hopping on. It looks like it's not an overwhelming bullish day. It's not one of these that's 95% of issues are rallying on the day, so it's not the broadest of bullish thrust in stocks, but it's very solid. It was about a 75% day between the Nasdaq and the New York Stock Exchange for all issues. So a pretty nice across the board breadth thrust. So that's really nice to see. Um, and then one final thing before I go ahead and hop into the just the trade ideas that we had brought today, folks. But one thing I've been highlighting in some of the other live sessions that I think you should all really be keeping your eyes on. And I haven't heard many other folks out there talking about this, Helaine,
Mhm.
but that we have what's setting up to be a massive buy signal getting ready to be printed on the S&P 500 just at the index level in roughly the next week to week and a half. And it's the golden cross buy signal you hear so much about. It's that 50-day moving average crossing above the 200-day moving average. And that's what
Okay.
these two lines are on this chart here. So the 50 days are red line, our green line is our 200-day moving average. And you can see that they are on a direct crash course. The trajectories, they're almost mathematically guaranteed at this point to cross very soon. The exact day in which it's going to happen, of course, is variable depending on where the market closes the next couple of days.
Of
But at
course.
the trajectory they're going, I mean, you can see the 50-day, Elaine, it's almost parabolic at this point. It would be
Oh
hard to
yeah.
reverse this and not get that buy signal. And it's so significant because, just any of you that like to look at charts, just go back and look at the past 30 years of when these buy signals have triggered. They're of very high accuracy. Of course, the past can't guarantee future performance,
Of course
but
not. But
if history is any guide, this is a very, very accurate and significant buy signal, and it's widely tracked for a reason. So, make sure to keep your eyes on that one, folks.
awesome. Yeah, that's a great little insight there, Blaine. And yeah, well, definitely, as you said, it's only a matter of days. You can't say exactly which one it's going to be, but it's going to be happening here in the next couple of days.
Yeah, and when it happens, I'm sure you'll hear about it. People will definitely start talking about it.
I think we had talked about this a couple days ago, and you said historically speaking, there's like a 20% run up after that buy signal typically occurs. Is that correct?
Yeah, so I'd
Or is it
actually
somewhere
pulled some
heavy?
data on that, and yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, Elaine. So given that it's such a widely tracked buy signal, I was like, well, I know a lot of people follow this, but what actually, historically speaking, occurs after this buy signal happens? I know it's very predictive of big up legs in the market and nice moves to come, but I wanted to get the actual data, so I went and did some research, pulled some data, and in the querying that I was doing. I asked for how many buy signals over the past 30 years had occurred, and I believe it was right around 34 or 35, something like that, occurrences of this golden cross buy on the S&P occurring. And then following that, the additional questioning I had done was what is the average or mean or average return on the S&P 500 following one of these buy signals before a sell signal occurs. And on average, again, over the last 30 years, the average return for the S&P 500 following a golden cross was right about 20%, and that move lasting about 10 to 12 months on average. So,
Awesome. Good.
in the last 30 years, it's forecasted, about a 10 to 12 month, bull market, which with an average gain of around 20%. So, certainly a wise thing to pay attention to.
I'll take it. Hey, I would take that any day.
I'll sign up for that. Yeah, absolutely. I'll sign up for that. Absolutely. So definitely be watching that one close. But Helene, I know you had a pretty interesting looking setup that you had found. Do you want to go ahead and take over the screen share and maybe go ahead and walk us through what you found?
Absolutely. Yeah. So I'll go ahead and start taking over the screen share. But I was looking at Vertiv, and
Nice.
they are, involved in data centers, specifically AI data centers. As we all know, AI right now is a big headline, a big driving factor. If you have AI in your name or somehow you're related to it, your stock is going up right now.
Yeah. Yeah, we're not seeing crazy breadth across the board, but there's certainly pockets of the market, absolutely. And it's largely a lot of these that are AI, their business is AI directly or is somehow tangentially related to it with the build out. And I think we might share that theme with our two picks that we brought today. But I'll let you go ahead and explain yours a little bit further.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So, Vertiv Holdings, they're involved in AI infrastructure. So, when you're investing in AI, there's a number of different ways to invest. The infrastructure stocks, that is one way to invest in them. And they really are involved in the build out and infrastructure that supports AI occurring. So that is where Vertiv falls into that AI play. Specifically, they're involved in the heating and cooling or the powering and cooling systems for the AI data centers. So very important to keep AI running. And looking at the chart here, I have my chart up, and I love to look at the 35-day EMA. We have done a tremendous amount of historical testing on our team in order to find different indicators and technicals that are statistically significant. And the 35-day EMA is one that has continually come up in our testing as being statistically significant. So when a stock is trading above the 35-day EMA, it signals a bullish run. It's on a buy signal. And so here I'm looking at the chart for Vertiv. As we can see, they declined early 25 into that April low that a lot of stocks across the market, across all sectors really hit, and then bottomed out clearly, rallied from there, crossed above that 35-day EMA, has been making a really strong series of higher highs and higher lows, and it's having that really strong bounce today. I mean, at this point, it's a little bit hot, but I think that as a either a stock purchase or a call option debit spread, it could be a great entry point. If you're looking at call option purchases, if I was looking at call option purchases, I would say it's a little bit hot right now, unless I were to be doing a longer term play, as in a month out or longer. Because I do think in the short term, they probably will pull back closer to that middle Keltner channel, maybe around that 115 area. But but as I said, as a stock purchase, I think that'd be a great entry point, or as a call option debit spread. And so the spread that I would look at for Vertiv is the August 15th spread. Um, and specifically the 100-105 strike call option spread. It's trading at 382 and has an expected profit of 117. This is a low cost, limited risk strategy, and it provides with downside protection. So Vertiv could drop all the way down to what would it be? 103.85. As long as Vertiv is trading above that level at option expiration, you'd be set to make money. So 103.85, looking at the chart, it's just about that lower Keltner channel. So it really provides a ton of downside, provides you upside, limited risk strategy on this really hot sector. Because as you know, these hot sectors can be a little bit volatile. They can swing up, they can swing down. Getting that downside protection really does make a difference.
Yep, absolutely. Well, that's a great find there, Helene, and that's definitely one that we've been keeping our eye on a lot recently.
Oh
There's
yeah,
been a just very clear reversal there. Of course, a lot of these stocks really took it on the chin earlier in the year in March and April, but they, obviously have made a very clear technical bottom there in April, and the thrust in this stock in velocity coming off of that low has been, frankly impressive. And it's one we've been watching. I know we've put out some alerts for members and taking some trades personally. It's been a great one. So yeah, great find there and great share.
thanks. Appreciate it. Do you want to go
Yeah.
ahead and share your screen, jump into your trade of the day?
Yeah, 100%. Let me go ahead and take over the screen share again real quick. And so you should be able to see my screen here again, folks. And so kind of along in the same vein, as Helaine was saying, one of the pockets of the market that is, really showing a great amount of relative strength right now are any stocks or companies whose business is directly related to AI, whether it's, building it out, and laying the infrastructure for that compute power, or if it's a company that is running the software and putting out applications for businesses and enterprises to be able to benefit and improve their own business using it, right? So we all know this is a just red hot sector and industry in the market right now.
Yeah.
And so mine is more of kind of one of these tangential plays. This is a little bit more speculative, certainly more speculative um, than the one that Helaine was just mentioning with Vertiv here. But the play I was going to talk about right here, because the stock and kind of as a group, the nuclear industry right now, some of these stocks that are more involved in nuclear power, trying to build out small modular reactors,
Sexy.
it has been the only way to describe it of late that it's been red hot. I mean, you can
Yeah.
see it reflected in the chart right here. It kind of took off late last year, had a massive run up through the earlier part of this year as the market, S&P was setting its all-time highs in February. And of course, it sold off somewhat with the market, but it actually didn't decline, quite as bad maybe as some folks thought it would have. It kind of traded right back down and hit this level of support this consolidation range that it formed through November and December of last year. And that support level held, it traded down, obviously, a sharp fall off there in March and April, but it found support at that level. And then as the market started, kind of reinvigorating themselves towards the end of April, well, you can see this stock took off once again, as did many of the nuclear plays. So, that's what Oklo is. As I said, they're a nuclear stock. Again, they're still quite speculative. This is a company that's looking to build small modular reactors. And how this ties into AI is, of course, you've probably seen this, written about numerous times, but just the frankly, incredible amount of power that AI data centers and compute requires to be able to run reliably, and be there as true infrastructure for businesses, governments, whatever it may be. It just consumes an incredible amount of energy and power, and it frankly is difficult with our current setup to kind of projecting forward to be able to supply that power sustainably. And have a great base load amount of power that we can rely on for just our normal grid, but also for AI to be able to run and to be able to continue building this out and expanding its capabilities. So that's why these nuclear stocks are taking off, is because people are more starting to come around, turn the corner again on thinking about nuclear and what it can do for our power grid, particularly these small modular reactor companies that are looking to build these new SMRs to provide power for nuclear. So that's what the great enthusiasm is behind this stock, and of course it's reflected in the price action for Oklo. So you can see, of course, over really just the past month, the stock has rallied more than 100%. You can see coming into May, it was trading just about $25 per share. It's currently sitting just above $60 per share right now. So just an incredible rally that it's had over the past couple, really not even a couple months, really just about a month and a half at this point. But it's still, the technicals still look solid. We still see a stock that's making a strong series of higher highs and higher lows, which is something we love to spot in the market. So you can see that right here, a very consistent series of higher highs and higher lows, kind of rallying up, setting some new short-term highs, and then trading back down to support roughly at the middle Keltner channel here. And that's exactly what's going on right here. We can see the stock traded down to its middle channel yesterday, and then actually closed just above it. And today it's seemingly it's starting to rally and start bouncing yet again. It's up about 10% today. So again, as I said, this is a bit of a more speculative play here. There's a lot of money moving through these stocks, a lot of volume. So the stocks are moving quite a bit, and that's why I have this lower study on here, is just to show you. So what this is an ATR, or average true range study. And so what this is looking to communicate to us is it's looking over the past 14 trading days, and it's trying to quantify using that price action data what the average price move is that you can expect from the stock on any given day. So right now, the average true range on any given day is coming in somewhere around $6.10 is what the expected move roughly is
Big
based on
move.
past price data. So you do the quick math there on a $60 stock.
Yeah.
If the ATR is saying that it's been moving roughly $6.10 on average per day, you're talking about roughly a 10% move per day
Oh
that
yeah.
this stock has been doing for a period of time now. Is not just one day that this has been happening. The stock moves a lot. It's got some good volatility in it, but that's not always necessarily a bad thing. And how I'm going to look to play this would be by using, again, one of our call option debit spreads. This you certainly could approach this by either just buying the stock as more of a speculative position. That's certainly possible, or even could go after some opportunity here with a directional call. But of course, with the stock that's moving that much, one, of course, there could be greater risk of being quickly stopped out of the position just because of how volatile it is.
Yeah,
But you also
10%
need,
move. That could definitely stop me out pretty quick.
yeah, exactly. So that that could cause trouble perhaps quickly. For a directional play, but again, for a non-directional play using an option spread strategy, you can actually kind of use some of that volatility to your benefit, because whereas these options are carrying pretty great deal of time value and extra premium, that would be kind of a hindrance. It'd just be raising your entry cost for a directional call purchase, and you'd have to see the stock rise a bit more compared to another one that has lower cost premiums. But for a call option debit spread, that you can actually use that extra premium to your benefit. And that's exactly what I'm looking to do with the trade I'm highlighting right here. And it's looking at Oklo right here, specifically the July 18th option. So these expire in a little less than a month from now. And the two I'm looking at is setting up a call option spread by buying to open the 46 strike call and selling to open the 51 strike call. And so you can see right here, just showing that spread. It's a 5-point spread. It's currently coming in at a market cost of about 3.88 points per contract, 3.85 points. It's kind of bouncing around. But given that you're selling the 51 strike call and the stock is trading, um, at $60, that means this is actually more than 10% in the money. So you have, more than 10% downside. So, just again, rough math for a $60 stock, 10% of a move would be $6. So, even if Oklo were to decline by 10%, from current price levels, this spread would still be in the money and has significant downside protection, and actually has a greater than 25% profit potential. So really nice balance of risk to reward. Again, of course, a little bit more of a speculative stock here, but a pretty attractive looking options play that I found this morning. So I wanted to share that one with everybody.
Yeah, I like it, and I like that, pick for Aklo. They're really interesting because not only are they looking into those and working on those small reactors, they also are involved with recycling nuclear waste and reusing nuclear waste. So, as we need more energy, the fact that they're able to recycle existing waste is pretty huge for that energy production. So, I really, really love that pick there and love that spread too. I mean, that downside protection is killer.
Yeah, and just to say a little bit more about the trade itself, keep in mind we were buying the 46 and had a cost basis of, I think it was 385. So
Mhm.
if you just add that to the strike we're buying, that's how you get your cost basis or break even point. So that would give us a break even point of, just imagine I'm drawing a line, just a horizontal line right here. That's where the trade would break even come option expiration. So that's a pretty significant way down, from current price levels. Of course, stock's moving quite a bit, but given its current pattern of making a nice series of higher highs and higher lows, great technicals, a good looking buy signal here still. I forgot to mention that earlier. We have a nice buy signal looking at the 21-day EMA right here, trading above our 63-day EMA. So great technicals underlying the stock still, even though it's moving quite a bit, pretty volatile. It's what I thought was a pretty attractive way to look at playing it. So, Helaine, anything else that you had to share?
I think that is it for me. I mean, yeah, nice little overview of what's moving the market and then our top picks for the day. So I think that we've covered everything.
Yeah, I think I agree. I think that's just about everything we wanted to touch on. But I really appreciate everybody joining us here live for the first ever Trade of the Day live, and we're
Yep.
going to keep doing these every week, every Tuesday and Thursday, folks. Helaine and I are going to be here, so it's going to be a regular part of our schedule. Would love to see it become a regular part of your schedule as well. We're
Mhm.
going to be here, just discussing what's going on in the markets, what's moving them, the opportunities we're seeing, just like the ones we talked about today. But also, just one thing, just before we go real quick, I'll go ahead and drop this link in the chat in case anybody is interested in checking this out. But this is actually my own personal video newsletter right here, and I just put the link in the chat to it. But it's my weekly profit opportunity newsletter, and currently running. I think it's a great deal for it. It's currently offering a promo where you can sign up for your first month for $1. So how this newsletter works, it's a video newsletter. I put it out every weekend. I sit down over the weekend, do some market research, find what I think is my absolute favorite opportunity out there in the market, what I think looks the best, and I find a trade for it. I'll walk you through, in a short video, all the technicals, why I think it's a great looking setup, and actually provide a trade alert for it. Could be a directional, could be a call option spread, could be a number of different strategies. Just whatever I think, kind of, matches up best with what I'm seeing in the technicals for that setup. And so you get sent out on the weekends, so you get what I think is my top trade opportunity heading into the new week. And so, that gets sent out on Sunday evenings. And so, for your first trial period, if you go ahead and take up the offer of $1, you'll get four of these recommendations in that first month for just $1.
That's a good deal.
Yeah, I think it's a great deal, especially, for just $1. If you get a couple of them that, start working out, and not to be my own hype man here, but they've done pretty well over the past year. I think I had calculated it recently, and I think 94% of the trade alerts I put out in WPO had offered anybody who had taken the alerts the opportunity to profit on them.
Wow.
So even if you get a handful of the alerts that end up working out nicely, then it could easily cover your cost of checking it out. So if anybody's
Those are
interested in
great.
that, I just dropped the link there in the chat. So would love to see you folks join over there and check out my trade analysis on the weekly profit opportunity. But
Yeah, great
other than
win
that,
rate there, Blaine.
yeah. Yeah, I just figured I would go ahead and drop that in there because doing a lot of hard work over there for folks, and would love to see some more folks check out that newsletter and see the trades I'm finding there. But Elaine, as we said, I think that's just about everything we had for today.
Yeah.
So I got the link in the chat again for anybody who wants to check out the WPO. But I think it's about time for Helaine and I to get back and check out what's going on in the markets. It looks like things were rallying just a few minutes ago, so probably ought to figure out what's going on there and
Hmm.
see what moves we need to make. So, Helaine, I think we'll see
Absolutely.
everybody back here on Thursday, right?
Yep, exactly. Same time on Thursday. So thank you all so much for joining us. Thank you for your time. We loved having you on our first ever Trade of the Day live, and we will see you here in just 2 days.
Yep, awesome, absolutely. Well, take care, everybody. Have a great rest of your week, and we'll see you on Thursday.
Yep, have a good one.
See ya.